Joining me now is a UFC lightweight fighter who's coming off the first UFC victory of his UFC career. It came in a Fight of the Year candidate. It was a decision win over Damien Brown at UFC Fight Night 121 in Sydney, Australia this past weekend, November 18th. It is Frank the Crank Camacho here on the program for the very first time. Frank, how are you?
Man, very good, man. Very super honored, man, to be on the show, and man, thank you. I really appreciate it.
Excellent. Really do appreciate the time. Thank you very much. I know we're about not quite a week out from the fight, 5 days as we're recording on this Thursday. How are you feeling? I mean, this was a crazy fight. It was a back and forth from the opening bell to the last couple minutes, especially at the end of the fight. Were you expecting such a back and forth war like you guys put on?
You know, man, Nick, I had this orchestrated, man, beautifully set game plan and set fight, but and then when the leather started flying, dude, it was just kind of like, okay, let me slip and return, and then man, we were both on autopilot, everyone was talking about it being fight of the night, and we just all let it go, and just we had so much fun.
What was that game plan that perhaps you didn't stick to as much as you planned to?
The plan was to kind of keep the pressure on, so I did keep the pressure on, and we were going to eventually end up in the clinch, and he was just really doing a good job at stopping my little foot sweep that I hit all the time. I did get him down once. I did get him down once, but he did a good job at getting his underhook from side control and getting back up, so I tried to throw it a couple more times, and I almost lost position, and after we ended up on the ground and he caught my back, I was like, I don't think I even want to deal with this no more, and my jab, I was getting some good range with my jab, and it ended up becoming a little bit more of a slugfest than I expected. But yeah, that was the game plan: get on top and just beat him up.
Nice, and this is 2 for 2 in Fight of the Nights. You're only 2 fights into your career. You're still a new UFC fighter. You made your debut just in June, so less than 6 months ago. Is this a trend? Is this just coincidental? I mean, are you going to be that new sort of bonus king in a way?
Hey man, I wouldn't mind, but I just really think that my style and the matchups, have just been really, really good, but I'm a forward pressure guy, and I try to win fight. I'm trying to finish fights, so I'm not going to go out there and try to outpoint you,
Are you surprised that Brown was able to hang in there just because he landed good shots, but you landed probably even better shots? He's typically pretty durable, but I mean, a lot of those shots would put a lot of people out. Were you surprised that you didn't get that TKO late?
No, not at all. Going into this fight, the game plan also too was to be disciplined. We knew that he was tough, and we knew that he was durable, and we knew that he had a big gas tank, so I couldn't go out there and be the usual crank, and just try to leave and try to stop him in the first round. And I messed up with Lee on that one, and I messed up with Neil Magny when I tried out for the Ultimate Fighter, and I just had to keep a long, sustained, maybe good 80% pace, and just kind of get him all the way to the third round and just win these rounds. But I was hitting him with some good shots, and I was a little surprised, but at the same time, not so much, man. The guy was durable, man. He's a soldier.
What was going through your mind when it was a split? When one judge had it for Brown, one had it for you, and there would be the deciding factor in a moment or two from then. What was going through your mind? Were you a little surprised that one judge did see it going his way? Because I think it was a close fight, but I think most people pretty clearly saw it going 2-1 your way.
Right after the third round bell, I grabbed his hand and I raised his hand. We paid respects, and then I ended up jumping on the cage. Man, I really believed in my heart that I won that fight. And then when we went, when I heard that it was 29-28 Camacho, and I was like, here we go, dude. This is good. But when when they were about to announce the third judge's results, I just put my hands up and I was like, yeah, I know I'm going to get this one. I knew it, but I wasn't surprised. Some judges can get caught in the moment and just watching the fight and enjoying the fight, but that's the reason why you don't really want to leave it in the judges' hands, you know what I mean? And just fortunately, I ended up with the win.
And what was it like fighting in Sydney? I believe just looking down your record, I Was this your first time fighting in Australia? I think it was, unless I'm missing one.
No, it was it was my first time fighting in Sydney. It's first time fighting in Australia, and dude, the fans are freaking awesome, dude. Like, and aside from that, like the fight week and the people and the just everything about Sydney, but the fight fans could appreciate a good fight, and I had a lot of positive feedback, after that fight, So I really thank Damien Brown for having me down there.
Right. What was it difficult at all as far as fight week goes, finding food, weight cutting supplies? I know you fought in a number of different countries overseas and, in your home country and everywhere, so maybe not too difficult?
No, it was actually the same, or I think like an hour difference in time zone, so it wasn't that bad at all. And I guess it's summertime there, so it wasn't cold, So it was actually not bad, and I wouldn't mind fighting in Australia again.
And you mentioned, I believe I saw that you said after the fight you would like to fight Brown again if they want to run it back. You're down. Why is that? Just because it was such a good fight? Is it because you missed weight? What's the reasoning there?
I feel it's because I didn't show up on weigh-in day as a professional, and I feel like if he's up to it, or if the UFC's up to it, I feel like I owe him that. It's not a personal thing where I want to get a finish or I want to win decisively. I just feel as a martial artist and as a competitor, I do owe him that. I do owe him that choice if he's up for it.
And so, of course, as you mentioned, you missed weight in this fight. You dropped down from, in your debut, you were fighting at 170. You chose to drop down to 155 before talking about actually, tipping the scales a bit heavy ahead of the fight. What was your decision? What was talk me through the process of when you decided to drop down for your second UFC fight?
Yeah, so, man, at 170, like I mentioned earlier, after my fight with Li Jingliang, man, I felt like I got hit by a truck, dude. The guy, my frame, I should be a lightweight. If there was a 165-pound class, dude, that's my class, So I have I'm a bigger guy for lightweight, so I come in as a bigger guy and a stronger guy, and I welterweight, I'm a little smaller, So man, I messed up on my weight cut. I messed up on the timing of my water loading and cutting the water, and man, I was cutting weight all that night before and that morning, and man, nothing was coming off. I don't know if you guys saw the weigh-ins. I was zombied out, and I just felt like that I owed it to Damien to have the choice of him fighting in front of his home country,
Are you going to stick at lightweight and hopefully you'll get it sort of down pat and be able to make 155? Because it sounds like it's more of honestly just a calculation issue, sort of when to start the water cut than anything. Or would you like to move back up to 170 for your third outing?
100% staying at 155. Then again, someone at 170 wants to fight, and if Sean Shelby and Dana White and my manager think it's the right thing, I'm down to scrap anyone. So, it's really, it is what it is, but I'm 155 is where I need to be and where I will be moving forward for my third outing and on to the future. Unless
they do bring in 165, which might happen.
Oh man, if they did bring 165, that would be so perfect. That would be so ideal. That would be so ideal.
I know you only have 2 fights in the UFC, but you should get on Twitter a bit and social media and start campaigning for that a little bit. Because if no one does, the UFC doesn't seem too interested.
Yeah, definitely. That's a very good idea. I think I will. It's just like, man, how come they have 125, 135, 45, 55, and then you have your 15-pound jump, and then you have another 15-pound jump to middleweight, So I think it would be a very good... I think the sport is big enough to where we can do that now, and I guess it'll just help with the athletes and man, and I also heard that the day after, man, there was an Australian girl that passed from cutting weight. She was like a 16-year-old Muay Thai, and man, God rest her soul. Like this is the price that we pay, and I think that would just be it'll help the fighters and be a little safer for the whole weight cutting process.
Yes, and for anybody that didn't hear about that, she was 18, and she was, I think, a day away from her amateur Muay Thai fight. She had been training for about 2 years, and I believe she collapsed while running. She was just cutting a few more pounds. I think the fight was right around 140 pounds or so. So super, super sad. Rest in peace, of course.
Oh man.
Again, another example of why weight cutting. I'm not a fan of weight cutting. And
Yeah.
oh
man, me too, dude. Oh shit. Yeah, it's the worst, man. It's like but then again, as an athlete, am I gonna try to kill myself to get down to 145, or do I stay at 155, or so now it's like finding and building a right team and just being a pro athlete and not going too crazy with your diets and really being honest with yourself, and it's just very, very unfortunate that these things happen in our sport.
Yeah, very true. So where are you right now? I know you were born in Guam. You grew up in Saipan in the Mariana Islands. This will be audio as far as people listening to this, but we can see each other right now. We're on video. I see beautiful palm trees, blue sky. I'm not going to show you outside my window just because I have to make some noise, but gray sky, kind of dark, snow on the ground. It's terrible. Where are you right now, Guam or Saipan?
So I'm in Saipan right now. So if for people that don't know, Saipan is about 120 miles north of Guam, and the Mariana Islands is a chain of 14 islands, and 15 including Guam, right? So it's a chain of islands. We're smack in the middle. So if you look at Japan and you look at Australia, we're smack right in the middle, right by the equator,
Right. And so I know in your Twitter bio it says you live in Saipan still, although it says online you fight out of Maryland. Are both those true? Do you do your camps in Maryland? Or no?
Oh no, yeah. So I guess I need to update my Twitter. Yeah, so I trained in Maryland for like 6 years, but now I live on Guam now. I live on Guam, but I fly back and forth to Saipan. Then the home is the Marianas, so I haven't been out to Maryland in a while. But I did my last camp in Guam, and I'll be doing my future camps in Guam or in San Diego, depending on what needs to happen.
And as far as you being in Saipan right now and sort of flying back and forth, is that more just to see family because you grew up here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I grew up here. My parents are here, and we're just hanging out, and we actually go back to Guam tomorrow. Or wait, no, we go back today. We go back tonight.
What was it like growing up in Saipan? Because for anybody that doesn't know, it's in the Pacific. It's right in the middle, and it's very secluded. It's a very small island. I read it's 7 by 11 miles. Is that accurate or no?
Yeah. So Saipan is 14 miles by 7.
Okay.
Population of like 40,000 people. So it's just like a small town, but man, you're like smack in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. So very, very island style. A lot of 85 degrees all year, beach all around, so super, super slow pace. Yeah, so man, just straight up island style.
Growing up, was life easy? Was it tough? In the middle? What was that like?
Coming to think of it now, I grew up in a middle class family, and my parents worked really, really hard to provide for me, and coming to think of it now, man, living here, I was so blessed to be living here because life was just so easygoing, just enjoying the simple things in life, you know what I mean? Like, just enjoying the simple things in life. Like, man, a good breakfast to a good day at the beach, and then coming home and hanging out with family. It was an amazing day, and that's all we did, and it's the island style.
I find it really interesting just because I think some people today with, today's modern technology and social media and having to have Wi-Fi every, 24/7, every minute of the day, some people are almost scared of like being so secluded and they don't want that, while some people, at their job work so hard and they almost want to get away. Like people go on vacation nowadays to escape from social media and the internet and things like that. What was that like, just being so far away from everything else, really? Was it
now,
nice?
Well,
what was it?
Yeah, it's nice. I guess now I guess I appreciate it more, It makes me appreciate it more, and that's why I try to come back as much as I can, and I just love how my son is growing up here, and he gets to grow up the way that we do, and appreciate the things that should be appreciated, and don't take it for granted. Don't take the beaches for granted. Don't take family for granted, and hey, man, but now we could be chilling here in the 80-degree weather with the palm trees and the sun and the beach with Wi-Fi.
I'm very jealous. I'm very jealous. You get the best of both worlds if you're an internet guy as well. But again,
Yeah.
I'm looking out my window right now, and all I see is gray and snow, and it's cold. It's really really bad.
Hey, yeah, you got to take a trip out, man, when you get the chance, bro.
Yes. I'm up in Canada actually. I don't know if I mentioned that. So it's really really cold here. Do you do Fahrenheit or Celsius?
We do Fahrenheit.
Okay. I'll pull up.
So I think it's probably like 85 degrees right now.
Right now, it's actually not terrible right now. It's only 30. But
Oh shoot, yeah, but you're like freezing.
yeah, so we're under freezing by a little bit, but even yesterday, I think we were right around 10.
Oh
Like,
shit.
it's really bad. Like it gets a cold day in winter. December, January, we're looking at minus
Yeah.
30. That's a cold day.
Oh, jeez, yeah, no. I think I'll just stay inside. I'll stay
Yes.
inside. Yeah, this is our winter time right now.
Yeah, again, super jealous. The Lawler Dos Anjos card is actually in Winnipeg, where I am, in December.
That's right.
It's a really big card. Jose Aldo was supposed to be on it. Now he's fighting Holloway, but yeah, it's going to be funny seeing everybody come in, all the fighters that are not used to this weather at all. I'm intrigued to see what that'll be like.
Oh man, I can't wait for that card, man. Man, you guys are gonna be that's a treat for you guys.
Yes, it is, because the only other UFC card that was here was Rashad Evans versus Dan Henderson 4 years ago. And I don't know if you watched UFC much back then, but from what I remember, that was not a good card at all. Like Tyler Woodley fought Jake Shields, very boring, I think.
It was a very long card, but it wasn't as long as this freaking card that we just had in Australia. Jeez. Thank goodness Brown and I put on the show.
Your fight by far was the best. If it wasn't for you guys, even still, it was one. All 6 main card fights went to the judges.
Because even at that, man, Brown and I went to decision. You know what I mean? But at least we were
true.
Yeah. So, I'm glad we got to. I'm glad we got to at least show the fans give the fans what they wanted.
Yeah. As far as you getting into combat sports, how did that all happen, and what was the MMA scene like growing up when at the beginning of your MMA career in Saipan? Was there any sort of scene? Was it difficult finding places to train and developing into a pro fighter?
When I first started training, it was called NHB at the time. It was called No Holds Barred, and what do you call that? We were just at the time. Let me try to think. I got 16 years old. I wanted to get in shape, and I hated running. And I had a friend that did this thing called NHB at the time. And during that time, like in 98, 97, there were Pride. There's a lot of Pride fighting championships. Veterans from Japan flying over to Saipan for vacation. So that's how we kind of got the the exposure. And then in Guam, they had a Super Brawl. Anthony Nui, came to Guam, and he ended up, meeting the boys and ended up starting a gym. And then one of his guys came to Saipan and loved the island life and ended up staying. And so that's how we started. These guys just came in and they just loved the islands. They moved over, and it's how purebred and mixed martial arts started. So it was a super old school way of Japanese and old school way of training, and it wasn't that much schools, but I guess here in the islands, man, everyone loves to scrap. So it really just worked out. You know what I mean?
That's great. As far as the homecoming experience after your debut, probably especially, even though you did come up short, what was that like coming home to Saipan? In such a small island with a 40,000 population. You probably know quite you don't know everybody, of course, but I'm sure it was quite exciting for a lot of people. You having a UFC fighter from Saipan, something I guess you'd probably be the first. I didn't look back, but I would just assume so. What was the homecoming experience? Even just the other day when you got back after this fight.
Dude, what was so cool is that man, very humbled, man. It's just very, very humbling because, like, I just go to the store and then like everyone's like, hey, congratulations, Frank. Like it was so cool that everyone was tuning in, like everyone was tuning in and yeah, a local boy out there, man, just doing great things and just, representing where I come from, representing where I come from. And, it was just so humbling, man. And it just motivates me to just continue to train hard and continue to train smart and just to go out there and represent. Like, that's the whole reason why, now that I can just inspire. Like, I just want, man, the kids or whatever. Because there's only a few things when you come here, or when you're from the islands. Like, you're gonna go to school, you're either gonna stay on island and just work, or you're gonna live off the government, or you're gonna go join the military. So now I just want to inspire these kids, man. Like, hey, man, if you wanted to do something else, if you want to get into journalism, if you want to be a pianist, if you want to be a musician, dude, you could totally do anything. Even if you just put your mind and your heart and just work really hard at it. So it's really cool and really nice, and I just really I enjoy it every bit.
And I would imagine you had a lot of people, whether it's on the street coming up to you or your, personal close friends, sending you a text, just saying, like, did you have a ton of people, maybe more than a lot of people who are living in like a big city like LA where they don't have, it's a lot less local, so to speak. Did you have a ton of people before the fight saying, yeah, I'll tune in, whether, FS1, I think it was on, the prelims were, did you have, did it seem like a lot of people were telling you that they were going to be watching?
Yeah, man, I've been getting a lot of love, man, since my last fight with Lee, and then the Ultimate Fighter, and yeah, it's just, and then also too, there's a lot of local people from the islands that live in the States, but it's just so nice and so cool for people to resonate with what I stand for and with my fighting style. So yes, I was getting lots of messages from all over the place, and it was just really, really cool, man.
And I saw that in December 2016, so coming up to a year, you actually refereed a fight. What's the story behind that?
Oh yeah, so I love reffing the fights. You get the best seat in the house, and so anyway, this guy gets kicked on the ground. It's an illegal kick, so he knocks out. So I stop the fight. I push the other fighter back and say, all right, man, that's it's going to be a disqualification. And then the other guy that gets kicked, he gets back up and he starts throwing punches at my face, dude. I'm like, holy shit, what the hell? And I ended up, covering up, and I got him in a clinch. And I was like, hey, buddy, hey, no, you're fine, you're okay. But yeah, he threw like a 5-piece combination at me, and right after that fight. But it was crazy, but it was just so cool how game he was. He did that. He went on to autopilot, and instead of going for the takedown, he just started throwing combinations. But he was good. No one was hurt. But yeah, that video went viral online.
Right, but as far as how that came together, do you? I sort of my thought was that this was more of a one-time thing, but from the sounds of it, you referee more often.
Yeah, I love refereeing the fights, and I feel, man, I love everything that comes with mixed martial arts, and eventually I'd love to get into refereeing. Maybe if that's probably like another career after my fighting,
And I assume, though, this wasn't like licensed, like they just sort of said, hey, we need someone to ref these fights, or did you have to go through like a process, or was it just?
Oh yeah, no, there's not. Yeah, there's no license. So I mean, yeah, thank goodness no one got hurt, But yeah, I'll eventually love to go to, go to like an academy or go to a school and learn and get licensed for it.
Right. And what is the origin of your nickname? It is, of course, the Crank. Of course, the rhyme's there, but where did you come up with the Crank?
So my first fight, I didn't want to have a nickname, but the announcer, he was just, I guess, I don't know, I was the last fight, I don't know, maybe he had a couple of drinks, but he was just having such a great time, and he was like, Frank, the Crank, come on, and then it just stuck with me, dude. Yeah, I guess he just found the next word that rhymed with Frank, and after the fight, everyone was like, hey, Crank, what's up, man, congrats, dude, and it's been like that ever since.
Well, and it makes sense because I'm sure this announcer had no idea about this, but I mean, it sort of makes sense with submissions.
Yeah, for sure. So now I just need to get more submissions on my belt.
I was doing a podcast last week when we were previewing this card. So I do a podcast every week with two other people, and we talk about every fight on all the UFC cards. And one guy suggested that you should change your nickname to Macho, and I gotta admit it's pretty good. Frank Macho Camacho.
Camacho. Yeah, so. Well, maybe we'll have some variations.
Sure,
But yeah, man, but dude, that's absolutely. There was a boxer that had that, Hector Macho Camacho.
Right. Yeah. Why did you not want a nickname at first?
I just kind of wanted to compete, and I'm kind of like start off kind of like a shy guy, like I was just kind of like, oh, I'll just go in there, do my thing, and then it's just the crank came out, and then it was just like, and I was like, oh shoot, okay, all right, let's just fly with it.
And I guess this led to more than probably what you expected, because you own, as of today, to my knowledge, you own some sort of digital marketing company called Crank Industries, and then you also do a show, The Crank Effect, if I'm not mistaken. So first, talk about Crank Industries. What is that? How long have you been doing that? Did you found that? Are you the owner? How are you involved with that?
Yeah, so Crank Industries is I've always wanted. As a fighter, it's hard to make a living, It's dude, this is my little boy right there. It's hard to make a living, So like I just have to figure out a way how to build my name and digitally, with social media at the time, and so I had to learn graphic design, I had to learn videography, and I had to learn how to edit videos and do all of this. So it's actually helped. It's actually helped so much with fighting, And so my wife is actually a filmmaker, so she creates all the Crank Effect show, and and it helps with me with getting sponsors and all this and that. So it's just really cool, and I've been doing it for about a couple of years, and now I'm just finally glad that I'm in the UFC and I get to pursue my dream and to train full time.
Is this something you're going to keep doing, even if you make maybe not Conor McGregor money, but you're making start making good money in the UFC? Because I know the base pay starting out isn't so great. Is this something you always do, even if you do get like 100 or something?
For sure, yeah, and I think it just works hand in hand with what I'm doing.
Okay, and talk about the Crank Effect. I know it's some sort of video series you do. What is that all about?
Yeah, so it's just kind of like a day-to-day life with with what goes on in my life, and everyone has a story to tell, and whether it's me or whether it's GSP or whether it's Tyrone Woodley or whether it's Stipe, we all have a story to tell, and I feel like it's a perfect opportunity for people to watch and be inspired and to really resonate with the story, but also too for sponsors to assist these fighters and to assist me in pursuing the dream through an active media,
Great, for sure. Last question for you, Frank, and I really do appreciate the time. What is next for you?
Oh, yeah.
When do you want to get back in the cage? I know you had a somewhat busy 2017. You had 2 UFC fights, of course, including your debut, and of course the back and forth war that was this past Saturday. Do you want a little bit of time off? I know you're not too banged up, despite the fun fight. When do you want to get back in there?
Man, I want to get back ASAP, man. If I can get a fight like end of January or beginning of February, that would be so perfect, and I would love to get I'd love to try to get a good, exciting fighter, I would love to share the cage with like a Joe Lozon, or a Diego Sanchez, you know what I mean? And just to really push me and to make me level up, and so that I could get better as a martial artist, and I feel like those fights will be fan favorite fights.
Awesome, Frank. Thank you very much for the time. I really do appreciate it. Before I let you go, let my audience know where they can find you on social media, and if there's anybody you'd like to thank or give a shout out to, the floor is yours.
Man, thank you, man. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Man, Nick, man, I appreciate you, brother. And man, just find me on Instagram at Frank the Crank, on Twitter, Crank Effect. You can find me on Facebook, Frank the Crank Camacho. Too easy. Man, tune into my YouTube show, the Crank Effect show. yeah, it just, man, just show me some love and just say what's up. If you have any questions, just hit me up, and I'm pretty good at responding to messages. So, yeah, man, I really appreciate you guys, and man, you guys have a wonderful day and happy Thanksgiving.